Good afternoon, everyone, and good morning to those of you on the West Coast, and welcome to today's webinar on EQ Everywhere, 5 Steps to Strengthen Emotional and Cultural Intelligence in the Workplace. My name is Charles Summers. It is my pleasure to be serving as your moderator today. We've got a 45-minute presentation before a 15-minute Q&A at the end, so if you have any questions at any time during today's presentation, please use the GoToWebinar questions queue, and we'll answer all of your questions in that Q&A session. If you'd like to reach me about any Humantelligence webinar questions or future webinar topics, feel free to reach out to me directly at charles.summers@humantelligence.com, or feel free to reach out to me directly on LinkedIn as well. So how are we helping with EQ right now? Well, we're going to go through some of that today, and I just want to give a special shout out to all of you on today's webinar who have already downloaded the EQ Everywhere Chrome extension and Slack extensions. That'll definitely help you today. We'll give you a quick kind of demo later on in today's presentation for a few minutes of what that's actually going to look like and how you can use that. For those of you who didn't download it, it is free, so you can use that no problem. Also from our homepage, you can take our self-assessment or invite a team to take it. We are also offering a team culture mapping to those of you on the webinar today. So you can go in and see an in-depth analysis of your team's culture. Once I hand things off today, I will put a link to all of these different items in the chat, and I'll also send them out after the webinar with the recording and slide deck. At this time, I'd like to introduce you to today's presenter, Humantelligence CEO, Juan Betancourt. Right now, I'm going to hand things off to Juan. So Juan, go ahead and take it away.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining today. I hope that you all find yourselves in a good place, healthy, happy, and safe given the COVID situation. We appreciate you taking time to learn more about where we believe we're thought leaders in terms of EQ and how that can be infused within an organization and driven really by HR, but then led to live throughout that organization. So thanks for your time today. What we're going to cover in today's agenda throughout the presentation is the following 4 areas. We're going to start with just kind of where is the state of EQ in the corporate world today, right? I don't think you could even say the words emotional intelligence 5 years ago without someone laughing you out of the room. It's a very different place today with psychometrics and with data, rolling up data with data analytics, and most large HR organizations having a people analytics group. I think we are closer to a new future state, which with elements of it being today, kind of the future of work. Well, this is with regards to EQ and the future of work. After we go through those kind of conceptual slides, we're going to then step into specific tactical things to strengthen, 5 of them, to strengthen your emotional and cultural intelligence for your organization. Yes, you yourself as an individual, but also for any 2 people, team, division, all the way up to the community level, or what we call corporate culture, so that the entire organization can experience emotional intelligence and the benefits, which are better collaboration, connection, communication. Now, that's what most companies talk about. We'll show you how that actually needs to lead to better resonance. Okay, just because 2 people connect on Zoom doesn't mean that they're actually working better together. There's no resonance there. We can show you how tools can be used to create resonance. So better products, better services, better team initiatives. At the end of the day, better performance. Thirdly, we will get into a practical demo. Since a lot of the concepts that we are going to speak about today are things you've heard about, culture, collaboration, engagement, and there are thousands of companies claiming to help companies with that. The difference in what I'm going to show you today on the theory part that you've already heard from many is the practical demo. And it is going to feel a little salesy because you're going to see a product that by coincidence is ours. It's really important for you, whether you end up ever going back to our product, buying it or not, to see what's possible, right? Whether you have a budget or not, doesn't matter. See what our clients, what some companies, some of them may be your competitors, some of them your partners, what they are looking at and using for delivering EQ everywhere throughout their organization for every 2 people, 24/7 on any platform. I think I'm going to set a really high bar. It's transformational, and I'm pretty sure you've never seen anything like it. And I've told that to Sheryl Sandberg and the Facebook folks, and they agree, and they're now integrating us into the workplace product. I've said that to the key people at PwC, Katzenbach Center of Culture. They actually agree. The Deloitte team at Burson, they agree. And many of our current clients like Merck, Ashley Furniture, Honda, and several soon-to-be clients that are considering our products. Then we'll finish with a Q&A session. Next slide. So our goal today is basically to show you 2 things: how to become how your company or organization can become emotionally intelligent, and infuse insights into your employees and leaders' everyday processes, technologies, and living culture. Next.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, I did put those links in the chat box. The formatting kind of looks a little bit funky, so I apologize for that. But those links for all those things I mentioned earlier are in the chat box now. Go ahead, Juan.
Perfect. Thanks, Charles. So let's start with a couple definitions, because there's a lot of confusion out there, and I hope to first just set the confusion straight. So we call it emotional intelligence. We and the popular people in the US call it EQ. Technically, for everyone to know, I'm sure some of you are technically savvy, the professor at, I think, Case Western, who developed the concept of emotional intelligence, actually it's EI technically, but most people don't refer to it that way. So that's why we are using the simple EQ, which is emotional quotient. We're not going to give a number. It's just whether somebody is on a spectrum from self-awareness to being able to leverage that insight in better working with others and understanding others and teams and social dynamics at the highest chain in a group or a community as being emotionally intelligent. Now, a lot of companies claim that they provide tools for step 2. So think of whatever engagement survey you know, think of any collaboration tools like Slack, Messenger, Zoom, video conference, right? A lot of technology companies say they do step 2. They connect, communicate, they help companies and people at companies connect, communicate, collaborate. Facebook, for example, Sheryl Sandberg made it very clear, and you can go to their website, states that they want to build community, and the way they do that is through helping improve connection, communication, collaboration. Now, what you all need to understand is step 1 is just as important, and without it, you can't really do step 2. People need to understand each other better before they write an email. How do you do that if you've never met the person? Before an engineer, a code writer at Microsoft in Seattle works on Slack with someone in India or China or Costa Rica, or Argentina, they're going to send some messages on Slack to start coding on a project together. A consultant at PwC or Deloitte or McKinsey working across the world with another cross-functional consultant at their firm. Never met the person. Remote workers. Today, most of your company, many of you are working remote. Now you're still getting new projects to work with new teams remotely. You don't have the time to get to see the body language and understand someone and to go into their cubicle. There's a lack of understanding. So the first step, actually, before any of the tools you put in play, that you can connect, communicate, collaborate better, is to understand. I will show you what that means tactically. If you can understand before step 1, before step 2, you can lead to a higher resonance. If your organization does have emotional intelligence streaming, flowing, vibrating through it, there will be higher resonance between every 2 individuals, every boss subordinate, every team, every cross-functional project, all the way to a higher resonance with your customers and partners. This is what's transformational about some of the products out there in the market that are coming to market, including ours. We don't just give you a tool to improve connection, communication, collaboration. We guarantee a higher resonance. Put that as the bar if it makes sense to move forward with tools. Next. Now, the definition of culture. We apologize. This is typically one slide that has 4 pieces coming in. We couldn't figure out how to do that on this technology. So let's start with the top left. What is culture? We're going to define it here. It's basically what Deloitte and PwC, we use their definition. So this is not Humantelligence definition. This is Deloitte and PwC's definition. Many of you wonder what it is. Is it the vision, the mission, the benefits of a company? Is it engagement surveys that we've all spent so much money and time doing pulse surveys and temperament surveys? Is it leadership? Is it consultants coming in and asking the execs, what do you think your culture is? The reality is PwC and Deloitte and everybody else who actually are real scientists who study this have concluded that although those things in the top left quadrant are really important, they are not your culture. Culture will optimize those things, right? They will help you align and lead to a vision and mission and accomplishing it. Culture will define what kind of benefits you give. Culture will minimize a negative outcome on engagement surveys. But on engagement surveys, imagine Apple and Microsoft, they use the same engagement survey. And how do you explain this? Both of them come with the same results where 75% of employees at Microsoft and Apple are super engaged, recommend the company to a friend, want to work there forever, et cetera, et cetera. 20%, it's just a job. They work 40 hours a week and they leave. And 5% actually are unhappy and are going to quit or don't like their boss or having an issue. How does the fact that both Apple and Microsoft have the exact same results in an engagement survey actually explain that they have the same culture? Anybody who knows people who work at those companies, their products, how different they are, the experience working with their products and or their retail model, know that they have completely different cultures. The best analogy I could give to any parent about culture, maybe many of you are parents on this call, is if you've had a 6 or 8 year old, okay, those kids have certain behaviors, certain motivators, certain play styles, let's call them in the business world, work styles or ways of doing things. And they don't change from Wednesday to Saturday. So if you do an engagement survey on a Wednesday morning, waking up your kid at 6 a.m., a 6 or 8 year old or 9 year old, or all 3 of them if you have 3, and you say, hey, Charlie, Mary, Stephanie, we're going to go to school. And on the way to school at 6:30, you ask them, hey, I'm going to do a quick engagement survey as a dad or a mom. Would you, and you're driving, would you recommend me as a mom or a dad? No, Dad, I don't like you. I don't want to go to school. Would you recommend this family's a great family? No, this family's terrible, right? Blah, blah, blah. Low engagement result, right? No different than on Saturday, if you wake them up at 5 a.m., even an hour earlier to drive to Disney World and did the same engagement survey, they would be extremely happy and would recommend you a friend, think you're the best dad or mom in the world. Their behaviors, value systems, and work styles don't change Wednesday to Thursday, and they likely don't change for like 5 years. Now, they do start to change in high school and college, but for most of your employees, where they stand on a week or a monthly basis on if they're happy or not has nothing to do with their behaviors, values, or motivators and work styles. There was a study done by Don Soul from MIT and Harvard Business School previously that just came out last week. If you go to my LinkedIn, you can see it, or Don Soul's LinkedIn, and they basically proved that the corporate aspirational culture, we're now in the bottom left quadrant here, the aspirational culture that's on websites, on t-shirts, coffee mugs, that people are asked to memorize for their engagement surveys and for Glassdoor, et cetera, those mantras actually was just proven for the first time ever with data to have zero correlation with the actual reality of what employees and customers and partners experience. And in fact, 4 of the 10 most often cited ones have a negative correlation. Diversity, being customer-centric, being execution-oriented, et cetera. So what is culture then really? Well, what really culture is, and now it's clear and it's definable and measurable, it is your people, their psychology, and the work environment they create or establish. It's not your leadership. At Procter & Gamble, they could fire the top 10% of all executives and they would not miss a beat and the culture would not change at all. So Uber getting rid of their CEO who was a womanizer, a horrible person, and they should have, doesn't change the culture for 24,000 people. Changes the culture for the direct reports of that person. So it is now measurable, and what we at Humantelligence talk about when we say we are measuring culture, we didn't define culture, we just came up with a 12-minute test to measure it, per employee rolled up for the company and in between every team or level, is around this framework of BMW. We measure the behaviors, like your typical DISC, predictive index, strain finders, Plum, Pymetrics, et cetera. We measure values, which we call motivators, which is a little more entailed. Most companies take 45 minutes and takes a lot of time, money, and a consultant. like Hogan, Lominger, and some of the SHL tools, we do it in about 5 minutes, quicker, cheaper, easier to understand for all your employees. And we also measure 8 work environment things, whether you're more systematic or creative. Next slide.
Okay, so we've got a handful of polls here, and we'll spend about 30 seconds on each one of these, and then one you can talk to them at the end. So for the first one here, I'm going to launch it, but the first question is going to be: have you taken an assessment that measures your emotional intelligence or your EQ? So give me one moment here while I pull it up. Okay, it's launching the poll now, so give it just a second. Okay, let's give it about 20 more seconds. All right, about 5 more seconds. Okay, I'm going to share the results. Okay, so 63% of you said yes, you've taken an assessment that measures your emotional intelligence. 29% have said no. 9% have said I don't know. All right, we will move on to the next question. And I had to shorten this one in the GoToWebinar just because it has a character restriction, but think about it like this: the majority of this audience has likely taken a personality assessment before. 1 month or 1 year later, are you accessing and using those results? So what are you doing with those results later on? So it's going to be a yes or no answer here. So distributing the poll now, so give it another 5 or 6 seconds here to populate. So 1 month or 1 year after taking a personality assessment, are you accessing those results? Yes or no? Give it about 15 more seconds. All right, 5 more seconds. Okay, so 40% of you said yes, 60% said no, you're not accessing those results a month or a year later. Okay, go to the next one here. I also had to shorten this one just a little bit, but the question is going to be: has your company administered a company-wide EQ assessment or conducted a workshop to become more emotionally intelligent as an organization? So we put a little hint down here. So it's not just a personality assessment. For self-awareness, that doesn't count in this. All right, launching it here now. Give it about 15 seconds. Okay, 5 more seconds. Okay, so 83% of you said no, so we're seeing a little bit of a trend there. So 83% of you said that you have not conducted an EQ assessment or workshop for your organization at the organization level. Okay, and I also had to shorten this one just a little bit too. So do you have a way to look at EQ results for a coworker or team on an ongoing basis to better collaborate and communicate daily? And that's where I had to cut it off in the GoToWebinar, but think about it, something that you can access 24/7 through any tech platform or device to get EQ insights on your coworker or team. So I'll go ahead and launch the poll question now. So again, do you have a way to look at EQ results for a coworker or a team on an ongoing basis to better communicate and collaborate? Give it about 15 seconds here. 5 seconds. Okay, so 93% of you said no, you don't have a way to see your coworker or team's EQ results. All right, Juan, I'm going to kick it back over to you now.
Great, thanks so much, Charles. So I think what we just saw kind of aligns with this next slide, right? It supports that the current state of EQ measurement in the workplace is really not there, right? EQ is not valued, right? 93% of you are not doing this corporate wide, right? 60% of you can't really use any kind of things, even assessments later on. You know, and so clearly EQ is not valued today, and that's okay. We didn't have data around EQ prior, so that's fine. There's no judgment here. Today, hiring people and assigning people to roles in a company for promotion, for projects, it's usually based on skills and experience, which you find in your resume. Having, you know, one-time access to powerful insights about yourself and your colleagues via like old world of assessments. We're going to do a workshop, we're bringing a consultant in, we're going to do an offsite. That's the old model, but that's not actionable. It's not 24/7, but that's where we are today still in the old model. You need an expert and a consultant to interpret the results. And, you know, like you guys, 60% employees rarely use those results. Next. The future, and what I'm going to show you in about 5 minutes, is a platform and tools that all of your employees can use to bring the future work around emotional intelligence and better collaboration, communication, connection that leads to resonance. This is what's possible, and I'll show you this. EQ being used as or more predictive than just things on a resume, right? Culture fit is actually 70% more predictive than the things you find on a resume. Imagine using that for hiring and not just going through pallets loads of resumes. Having on demand, whenever you need it, 24/7 access to powerful personal insights for yourself and for a team leader about the team, okay? And how to connect with peers, team members, and people you've never met before, as if you've been married for 5 years, in an email, in a meeting, on a Slack, on Zoom, any type of meeting or structure, remote or in person. Okay, using these insights for EQ to build teams, align culture. These are all future state of EQ, and using it across all these different platforms and you know, infinite platforms to come. Next. The philosophy and architecture that you guys should be thinking about your organization and how to infuse EQ everywhere, okay? You need to think about this blueprint, okay? Today, if you look at the bottom, it's an inverted triangle or pyramid with company at the top, right? The most important values have everybody and everyone kind of flourishing and vibrating in EQ and understanding of each other to better cooperate, communicate, and have a better culture that you want. But at the lowest form, the most base form is at the bottom, self-assessments. Most of you, I think 63% said you've taken a self-assessment. Almost everybody at a company has taken a self-assessment. The last 50 years of self-assessments were great, but they were only built for self-awareness. They were not built for emotional intelligence. They were not built for technology that could give you insights on the cloud, on your watch, or in your glasses as you're, you know, walking to a meeting, just look at your glasses, and there it tells you how to communicate with Charlie or Mary or Jose, who you're about to meet. Okay, assessments were not made for the future of technology. They are now combining psychometrics with technology, where you can have this architecture all the way up, where two people at any moment can engage better. What does that mean? They can understand each other first without even meeting, get tips on how to connect, communicate, collaborate better, higher resonance, where a team leader can understand their team culture. And yes, team culture is often different than corporate culture, because Coca-Cola has a different culture in their finance and accounting team as in their sales team and their marketing team. And if you all reflect, as proud as you used to be about your corporate culture, which Don Sol at Harvard Business School and MIT just and Charles can get you that study if you want, just came out July 21st of 2020, last week. They prove that all those corporate values are actually not reality, and nobody's been able to prove them because you don't have the same culture. All of you have different cultures in your finance and accounting teams, your sales teams, your marketing teams, et cetera, et cetera. Now you can align with this insight and be more emotionally intelligent as a leader of a team and align your culture to strategy and how you need to change your team and hire for what you're trying to achieve up to a group level so that now HR can have an ROI performance impact around analytics, around culture, and emotional intelligence, because if a company's emotional intelligence, they will outperform their competition. This leads to the highest level of emotional intelligence for the community and company culture. The bar on the far left with the arrow is HT, and that's what Humantelligence, for instance, will help deliver, and we'll show you that. Next. The 5 key steps, we're now in the third and last part of the presentation before the actual tactical demo and the questions. So we're almost through the slides. The 5 steps to strengthen your emotional culture intelligence. First, you have to gain understanding. Everyone should have access 24/7. So instead of spending all this money on assessments and workshops and bringing people in to explain the results, that is not scalable. If you can't get everyone, let's say 10,000 employees or even 500 employees up and running in a week, it's probably not a scalable platform, and technology today will allow psychometrics to be understood and spread within a week for 10,000 people. If your vendor is not promising that or can't do that, then they're probably not modern and technologically forward. Second, become self-aware. You do need to know yourself before you can understand others, okay? Third, learn your team EQ. Every team leader should know their strengths, weaknesses, and blind spots of their team. Is their team filled with mavericks? Is their team in a startup? Is it all, creative, innovative people for a startup? Great, but now they're 3-4 years in, they have a great product, they hit $1 million in revenue, they need to get to 10 million. The same culture that startup got from 0 to 3 years, from 0 revenue to $1 million with product market fit, now they need to scale. Now they need a process-driven, scalable, repeatable, non-creative, innovative company, okay? Or it needs to be balanced, and they will fail if they don't change their culture. Fourth step, understand how to communicate. The platforms that you put into place at your organization for communication, connection, collaboration must give these insights 24/7 to all of your employees. Assessments and all the insights from motivations to behaviors should not be just for your rich class, your executive level people. Those actually are not the ones who need it. The ones who need it are your customer and partner facing employees, the other 80%. So if the pricing is not an on-demand dollar per month type pricing, you might want to reconsider. And then lastly, leverage technologies, the combination of psychometrics with technologies and what's coming out. Imagine this, version 2.0 in our platform, you're gonna write an email, and depending on who you write it to, after you write the name of the person, you click a button and the email is rewritten for you to best land, to best resonate with that person, for example. Next slide. So the first point of that, gain an understanding. So today, everyone's focused on the old model of resume, skills, experience. On the left here, what we call loosely or liberally IQ. Again, it's not a quotient, it's not a number, but those are the things that people kind of rate and rank applicants and even internally. How successful you've been, what have you done? That's only 30% predictive, what you've done. The future of work and emotional and the future of work actually will be based on people and understanding their emotional intelligence and leaders who are emotionally intelligent and measuring culture with behaviors, motivators, and work styles. And that's who you are and who the team is and how people will work or not work well with that team and other teams working. Next. Becoming self-aware and understanding insights of others is looking at, if you look at the small font under that picture of me, tips for communicating 24/7, not in a workshop, but in an email, in a Slack, on Zoom, click a button and it'll tell you tips on how to communicate with me. Tips on the second section, how to motivate or influence me, unique to me. Next. Where two people, you can see where they might have conflict with a little caution flag there. instantly knowing that we're 40% low similar or 90% very similar, person A and B in a company, or candidate A and B on hiring with a manager. Okay, do you want to compliment someone or put compliments together or have the same thinking? You don't want to fall into what HBR called the article front page last year in April, cascading thought. Then a tool that will give you the insights as a pop-up where there might be conflict. Next. For a team leader to see that his or her team, what the emotional intelligence there is. In the case on the top right, you have this, that this team is very helping. It's hard to read, but that first dominant blue bar and the pictures of that team, they're extremely helping. And the other blue bar to the right under innovation, they're extremely freedom oriented. Good to know that they're kind of very independent thinkers, but who also like to help out. If they weren't helpers and they were self-reliant, you'd have a lot of selfish people and it'd be like herding cats. Okay, the bottom right, you'd have between systematic, this is work environment of BMW, this is the work styles and environment. You have everyone on the right. For a startup that's really creative, or R&D or product innovation, marketing, creative environment, that's wonderful. But if you're a Six Sigma continuous improvement manufacturing plant, the bottom right picture of the culture and the emotional intelligence of that team might explain why maybe there's 10% defects in your manufacturing process and plant, losing 3 million EBITDA a year, right? Culture will start to explain performance. Next. Imagine on Slack, you go in and type in, as the picture of the screenshot shows, a little command around HT or whatever the product you use, and it pulls up again in the middle of those two engineers working together. It pulls up, okay, the insights on how to communicate, how to motivate and influence and work with somebody. And if you're L&D or talent development, how the person's learning styles are different from someone else. Next. So you can leverage these kind of insights across all the new technologies. Most technologies are web enabled through browsers. 75 to 80% are in Chrome. So we're going to show you now a demo of what that may look like.
I just gave you control one.
Okay. Charles, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so the old model has been, okay, a digital form of an assessment result, right? Okay, great. We see someone's business personas, right? So, you know, this person, are these three personas, you know, are maverick, architect, blah, 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 right? Tips, you know, communicating, working. I mean, this is all in a platform. Now, this is not going to be as useful for people on the go writing emails about 50 times a day. They're not going to go into another platform. So the EQ Everywhere is where you go into your email, you compose an email, whether it's Outlook on the cloud or Gmail, you write to the person, let's say Victor, you've never worked with Victor. We were talking to a Fortune 500 company based out of Atlanta with 10,000 or more employees. And we asked them, how many of your employees at headquarters write to people they've never met per week? And they said about 50 people, 50 emails a week. So if I'm writing a proposal to this person, you don't want to go into or call some consultant or go into some file or folder where you left some workshop, you know, PDF, you know, and save the file. You want to go in here and say proposal for your review. And before you write the email, you want to give a little thought to, how do I resonate with this person? It's an important email. I don't want to just vomit out the mouth. Yep.
Hey Juan, real quick, I think you might be showing the wrong screen. Right now, all I see is your portal, your personal portal.
Because I'm sharing screen. Is it now? Does it pop up?
No, not for me.
Okay, I'm going to redo it. That means I have to turn it off and on each time. Now, are you seeing the email?
I'm not. It's still stuck on your personal profile.
I'm changing to different web browser tabs. Are they changing it all for you? I'm going to 5 or 6 different tabs.
Oh, now it is. Yep. Now it's caught up.
Okay. What is it back on the email now for Victor?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So let me start this again then. You compose an email. You don't know this person. Their name is Victor, for example. You're going to write a proposal for review. And before you write and start, you know, vomiting out of the mouth like we all do, right? We all just start writing emails thinking the person's going to understand it perfectly. You actually go in, okay, click on their name, and it will pop up the 3 archetypes of this person. For instance, tips on how to communicate this person right before you email. They're informal, so I'll say, hey, Victor, how was your weekend? Or what are you going to do this weekend? And when I exit the email, they don't like details. I'll say, Victor, all the details to this presentation or proposal are attached. The key facts are these, right? Wants me to get to the point quickly, how to influence him or her, how to motivate them. He likes to be catalyst for change. Victor, if you agree with the proposal, could you also present it to people you think we can get more support across the stakeholders, right? All the tips to be more effective and to collaborate better, to create resonance. If you're talent management, talent development, or L&D, his learning styles, he likes flexible, unstructured learning. So instead of just giving him these 30 things on the library to go and do, maybe ask him for some input in how you create the curriculum of learning, okay? This is all at your fingertips 24/7 in any email you write. In addition, you can go into Slack, and if you have engineers at your company, you can go in, write a command, and right before you start writing to somebody you've never met, you click on that channel where they are. And again, it's funny, Charles, when the GoToWebinar box is blocking it from popping up instantly. So I got to do it new each time. You can go in, click on the person you're working with across the world, that's interesting. It's not letting me with the webinar. Are you seeing the Slack page, Charles?
Yes, I am.
Okay, there you go. It just worked. And so now, only visible to you, you get to see that person. You can, for this person, Carrie Leidick, you could go in and get all the insights, or right here on my screen, before I write to him or her, I can see that they are a maverick, a creative, and an architect in the middle of my Slack. Lastly, that large company also uses LinkedIn. We all use LinkedIn at large companies to see not just, you know, who the person is we're going to meet with, but their background, their career, their history. That's why there's all these corporate accounts. As such, I can go in and on Slack, if you see this bar in the far right in the middle, the blue bar that says HT View Profile, on LinkedIn, it'll pop up those same insights around his personas, tips on communicating and influencing before I would reach out, call them, or send an email. That is all around how 2 people can use EQ everywhere in their daily workflows, where everyone becomes an emotionally intelligent PhD certified consultant without having to go through the painful certification process. Now I'm going to show you how team culture can be everywhere. So let's go into Gmail, again, calendar. This time, where do people go into not just email, but for meetings, whether it's a meeting in person, a meeting in an office, or a meeting remote on Zoom or WebEx? You go into and click a meeting, and before you go to that meeting, imagine seeing this page here, again on the far right. On the far right, see the view culture, you click on it, and it gives you the culture of that meeting. Or you could click on a person and get the culture of an individual. But the culture of that meeting here, where you see the behaviors, the motivators, and ideal work styles of that meeting. So for instance, wouldn't it be great to know here on the bottom right, this meeting, which is a big meeting that I'm going to be presenting, for instance, or even just attending, that I'm going to pick someone to do a creative work session, a creative brainstorming. These people, Dan, Jarvis, and Carrie, are the ones that probably would enjoy leading that. Before I pick a cautious person like Victor, I might want to ask him, because he'd be put on the spot and uncomfortable. For action items that are due 24/7 later, 24 hours later, decisive people like Alexis and Gabby and Jarvis are prone to be good at that than some of the deliberate people like Pedro and Vera. In terms of research, if someone has to do research preparing for a meeting, I could ask these people to do that work in advance because they enjoy doing that research. Gabby, Russ, Zach, and Vera, for instance. People who are going to push back and follow more personal sense of direction and not agree blindly are these here. So careful if I call on them randomly. If I'm a PMO or structured person presenting to a creative group, this whole team, 90% of this meeting is creative. Would be really good to know that, right? So those are all ways that EQ can be used in running meetings, attending meetings, and creating, again, higher resonance during the meetings. And one day soon on Zoom, you'll be able to go where it says meeting participants, and it'll say the culture of that meeting. On Facebook Workplace, same thing for looking at group culture or messenger between two people. We also have some clients like George and Partners, who are the VC firm in Canada behind Shopify. If you can now use this information on your career pages. EQ everywhere also means how you communicate to your future applicants. So on your careers page, why wouldn't you, instead of using words that, like Don Sol's research shows, 70% of companies have the same 3 of 4 attributes: agile, team-oriented, customer-centric, right? Imagine actually putting the reality of your culture through data like them, where they thought it made sense to show that their culture is unique and that they are data-driven and transparent. So instead of describing culture, they're going to show it to you. Look at the charts below and see how your skills and personality add to the culture. And so here is, they're exposing another view of our data for their 150 workers across behaviors, motivators, and work styles. Similarly, on our website, you can go and see our startup culture of our team, which has gone from creative and innovative to now a culture using tools like this, a more emotionally intelligent company where we have 50% stability, 50% change. This is diversity of thought. This leads to higher diverse outcomes and diversity in employees and the quotas. Instead of going quota-based, go change culture to get to your quotas of diversity. We were only innovative prior to using our tool. We were only on the right side, nobody on the left. Now you can see we're 50-50. And lastly, we also have work styles here. We were literally 90% creative, and now we're about 60% creative, 40% systematic, where we can define quality standards, put patience and follow through, and following reliable procedures, as well as repeatable processes, right? A new culture for a new phase of our team, our organization. These are all ways that EQ everywhere, and using this insight can be done now through all of your organization, not only for current employees, but attracting the right employees for that future emotionally intelligent culture of intention you want. Charles, I'm done with the demo. I think, are there more slides? Maybe you take control again.
Yeah, I'm gonna
finish the slides.
Yep, so everybody should be able to see my screen again here in just a second. Okay, all right. So we're gonna move into the Q&A. I've got 4 questions to kick us off from the audience, but to anybody else, if you need to jump off, feel free. We've got a Q&A session now, so if you do have questions, definitely ask them. I've got 4 that I'll get started with. So Juan, the first one I'm just gonna take real quick. Somebody asked if they can get the slides in the recording. And yes, so I will, so you can actually get the slides in the handout section right now if you'd really like. I'm also going to send out a follow-up email probably tomorrow morning, first thing. It takes a little bit of time to get the videos to buffer before I can upload them to YouTube. So I would expect the follow-up materials first thing tomorrow morning. The second question. Yep,
Charles, on those follow-up materials, can you include the link to the Professor Don Sol from the MIT Sloan business article?
Absolutely.
I think that'd be really important for people to see. It's fresh off the press. It's an academic, spent years looking at the data, proving that what we all believe to be our corporate values, that it's actually not reality in what customers and employees experience. I think that'd be great for them to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll include that in the list. Okay. All right. So another question here is, do you integrate with Microsoft Teams? Juan, I'll let you take that one.
So great question. We are currently speaking to Microsoft Teams and trying to convince them that they should do this, but given that they are by far the 80% gorilla monster leader, they are not as open to just integrating products. So yes, we're talking to them. Once we get Zoom and we get Webinex and Cisco, we're pretty sure Microsoft Teams will also do it. So we're probably going to be in Q4 of this year. So 2 more months, and we should have it. Check back with us then.
Yeah, and maybe Juan, just go through a list of what we do integrate EQ everywhere with. I think that would be helpful for the audience.
Yeah, so right now, we do have it for Chrome. That's the plugin, which works with Slack, which works with Gmail. That's also the calendar for both meetings and individuals looking at somebody's one profile or a group of people. Outlook on the cloud, not the thick client version of Microsoft Outlook, but if you're looking through it on the browser, we do not have Firefox yet, which is 10% of the market. We're working towards that. We do have Slack. We will have in the next month all the Facebook workplace integrations completed. So for seeing two people, seeing a profile on Workplace, seeing a team or group through Messenger and their video technology. And then longer term in Q4, we're looking at Microsoft Teams, Cisco, WebEx, and other video technologies. Am I missing any, Charles?
No, I think that's everything. And just to clarify too, like,
yeah, we actually do have, we also have APIs to major HRS platforms. So you can get these insights as well through Workday, SuccessFactors by SAP, through ADP. You can also get a lot of this on the recruiting side on your applicant tracking systems. We've already integrated to Taleo by Oracle, iSIMS, Workable, and Greenhouse. There's also a small one for mid-market in HRS called Bamboo that we've integrated.
Cool, and that actually answers another one of the questions that the audience asked, so that's perfect. And I think just to clarify, so there's two separate links right now to actually get these. So Chrome, there's one for Chrome and one for Slack. So I put both of those in the chat, and we'll send those in the follow-up information or in the follow-up email as well. Okay, so the next question here, Juan, is how often should people retake the profile assessment?
Great question. That's probably a behavioral scientist in the room or someone who missed their calling. Thank you. So we believe strongly in the way we price our platform. For instance, we don't charge for assessments, not for employees nor for applicants. We charge for a platform to manage culture, right? Okay, and to infuse EQ throughout, your company 24/7 all the time, and for hiring better, for fit to a culture or to performance, right? So there's no cost or extra cost. So once that's out the window, you can go by actual reality. And so behaviors, motivators, work styles. Most behaviors and work styles do change throughout life at any moment. Values change a lot when you're young in high school and college. Obviously, when you're 0 to 7, you get your values from your parents and for your society and the ethnic culture or wherever you grow up. But then they change again drastically, high school or college. Then they don't change too much, and maybe your midlife, you have some value changes, and then late in life, but or less so. But we are strong proponents of a lot of theory and research that says a human being does not exist without the impact and vibrational carry through of a group. So imagine a parent who was single and now they're married. Imagine how that spouse changes that human being, right? We all grow through marriage. And then the children in that group, how that impacts that same person who used to be single 10 years ago with 2 kids now. Okay, their bad behaviors, motivators, values change over time. And we are proponents of that. And so it is advised that people take this assessment, since it doesn't cost any extra money, as often as they want to, whether they feel that they've made a major change in their behaviors or values or not. And specifically for the company to encourage it to see the roadmap and the snapshots over time, like static photos and longitudinal data. When a change in culture was attempted over time, as you work with each person to change their behaviors, their work styles, as an aggregate group, there is a vibration of community that will bring along everyone. It's that whole concept of, 5 people have strengths and they work as a team together. It's not 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 = 5. They're creating 5 units of value. A team of 5 working in cohort could actually create 30 or 50 value, not just 5. So there's an exponential effect because of the group. Same impact on someone's behaviors, values, and work styles or motivators over time. So yes, they do change. You should take them. Generally speaking, it changes in high school and college, and then again in your 30s, again in your 50s. Next.
Okay, next question is, we did EQ for the full organization, but the message from the company was that EQ was a totally personal score and should remain confidential unless the individual wants to share. How do you suggest getting to a point where it can be shared openly?
Great question. That's the closet lawyer in the house or who works with a lot of lawyers. So we make our tool and our platform, we advise our clients, and they do make it voluntary. Okay, and as a voluntary practice, we typically see about 80% of people wanting to share their results with others. That's enough for the company to get real powerful insights. If it's 10 people, even 8 out of 10, you're getting some insights. If it's 10,000 people, you're looking at 8,000 people, right? You can get the insights on what culture is by team, by division, right? And enough people can collaborate better where you see an impact. Now, within about a month, another 10 to 15% of people, when they see how fun it is to share and to work better and collaborate better and what's possible, you get another 10 to 15%. But you will always have 5 to 10% of people not wanting to share, and that's okay. Doing it that way is then aligned with the GDPR requirements for our clients in Europe, as well as all the stringent California requirements that are now being implemented in that state, and they're soon to come across the United States. So make it voluntary, and then you can get around that.
Yeah, and Juan, there's actually the very next question is about GDPR compliance. Do you want to just maybe elaborate a little bit on our compliance? This person says, is HT GDPR compliant? Some of its info may come across as sensitive or personal. So maybe expand on that part just a little bit.
Yes, and the key is we make it voluntary, and then the technical things, we keep the servers in Europe and the data's there, and we've agreed to never share any, because we're getting very sensitive info about people's psychology. We as a company have made the decision to never use it for marketing and sharing with marketers or other companies. So that is our promise to our clients and any candidates who apply or users at those companies. Now, if let's say a company XYZ was 10,000 people and they got people to take it themselves, that company can use those insights per person internally, and that's up to the prerogative of that company within GDPR and California requirements.
Perfect. Okay, how would I access this on iCIMS is the next question.
You can go to the iCIMS. You can either reach out to one of our people through the website, right? On the bot, just ask that question and we'll have someone call you. Or 2, go to the iCIMS marketplace and you should be able to access that joint API integrated product and information around it on the iCIMS marketplace. And same with the marketplace for SuccessFactors, for ADP, for all the other ones I mentioned. I won't spend time going through them.
And then there's a question about whether it's integrated with Cornerstone on demand. I don't believe so, but Juan, maybe I'll let you answer that one.
Yeah, you're correct. We're currently not there, but it would take us 2 weeks to integrate a new. We have a whole team that's all they do is integrations. The integrations were key for this EQ Everywhere to build it into all the different tools. So we have a whole team they're dedicated to that. So if you are on Cornerstone as a company and want to leverage these insights across your company, let us know and we can do it. We need a client though, where we know we're not doing it just to lose money. It costs us a considerable amount of money and energy and resources. But if your company is, and if you're using Cornerstone, that's expensive. I'm assuming your 5,000 employees or larger. We'd be happy to do that. It would just take 2 weeks in the process to get that integrated.
Cool. And then another good question here. Would your profile move with you when you change companies?
Yes, we advise our clients and partners that any human being that takes the self-assessment, and that profile is theirs, it's their right. Now, we can't force our clients to do that, but every employee, this is a gift of self-awareness. This is a great employee experience, right? And a great candidate experience. So many times companies don't give the assessment results or output to candidates. I think that's a shame. Since we do pass all the adverse impact certifications and studies, and we are technically validated as a science that proves to measure what it measures, we can't stop someone from suing you and says, hey, they used an assessment, that's why they didn't hire me, I'm suing. But we can prevent them from winning using our assessment. For instance, you won't lose a lawsuit. No one of the over 500,000 people who've ever taken our assessment have ever sued. And if they did, they wouldn't win in court because we actually do measure what we say. So there should be no fear. Your lawyer is going to say to not do it, but the risk is less than 0.5% or less that they even get sued, let alone lose. So we do say, give it as a gift to your applicants, and they can carry it to the next job that they apply to. This is about democratizing self-awareness to the world, to your employees, to applicants. And it's not about making money or hiding information. It's about everyone becoming more self-aware, everyone becoming more emotionally intelligent, everyone finding the jobs that they're aligned to for meaning and purpose, where they're happier, to drive people staying longer in your companies, and to minimize turnover and getting fired. And that's good for everyone.
All right, with that said,
2 minutes, Charles. Maybe one more question. We have 2 minutes.
That actually brings us to the end. So with that last answer, we'll wrap it up. So that's our last question. So so I just want to give a shout out to Juan. Thanks for presenting today, and shout out to we had over 250 people who showed up today. So super excited about that. So thank you to our audience. Let us know how we did by taking the survey. It'll pop up right when you leave.
Yes,
just a reminder,
feedback is great, everyone. We know that we're not perfect. We make mistakes. The presentation, I'm sure, had flaws, things that were not clear, not well communicated by me. Charles actually is a great communicator. I'm always looking for feedback. How could I have done this better? What order could we have done it in to have a better resonance with you as an audience, as a group? Remember, resonance. So help us create better resonance with you and let us know what we can do better. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, and just a quick reminder before we go, go download EQ Everywhere. I think that'll be super helpful for you, and have your colleagues go do it too. And if you want a culture mapping of your team, you can reach out to me directly. We'll also send you out a link so that you can go and request that as well. So once again, thank you all. We'll see you on the next webinar. Thanks.
Cheers. Thank you.